welcome to another edition of ADF News. Tonight, we will be looking into two issues which have hit rural Australians hard in recent times: droughts and bushfires. These disasters have an ongoing effect on our society and damage our communities on many levels. Tonight, through two presentations, we will show you how devastating droughts and bushfires really are.
Over the past year, you may have noticed the prices in fruit and vegetables going up and down at varying rates. The main reason behind this is the serious issue of droughts. Jace Chan has compiled a presentation explaining how droughts work and the extent of the damage that is caused by droughts.
The most affected people by the long Australian drought are the farmers that need water to produce crops and livestock and also survive their own needs. Without water, their crop supplies are dwindling and is putting pressure on Australian markets. This lack of water making life as a farmer very difficult and impossible to sustain in the long run. This is because they cannot maintain crops that need water to grow. Many farmers have moved into outback with the dream of running a successful farm, now being forced to abandon their dreams because of debt. A farmer's loss is devastating to what they love. They are forced to give up and lose money to the fact of no hope given by anyone. Even the government support is not enough for farmers to cope and support their own families.
At this rate, the drought will cause many farmers to lose their jobs and also basically lose their life, because without the farm, without money, they are pretty much nothing. Because of this drought, is making farmers turn to another form of income, such as moving into the city, because farming is not sustainable anymore to be able to pay for their everyday needs and holidays and anything else like that. For someone to move into the rural area and run a successful farm, there needs to be water, and at this stage there is no water available for the farmers.
Up next, we have a devastating farmer telling us about how he's coping with the drought.
Now to 2WEB's weather forecast for Bourke, New South Wales. To all our farmers listening, unfortunately there is no rain in the forecast this week. 6 years without significant rain. Times must be tough, but hang in there, rain has to come soon.
The Thompsons have been farmers for generations. They have 2,000 acres of cotton that relies on water to grow. Unfortunately, they have been stuck in the worst drought in living memory and haven't been able to grow anything for 6 years.
Normally at this time of year the crop would be up about 2 feet high, just almost starting to be a solid mass of green. You know, you'd start, it's almost to the stage where you'd start to struggle to see up and down the rows.
And the situation gets worse when you get down the river.
Well, we're in the bed of the mighty Darling River, which is the longest river system in Australia. As you can see, it's bone dry. To my left here is our river pumps, which is what we use to extract water out of this river for irrigation.
Only 14 months ago, this arid field was a lake. The Thompsons remember the good times playing in the water.
We've got a jet ski and the kids all can ski, and wakeboards and kneeboards. It's really good when there's water here. You get sick of seeing the dirt and the dust and the beautiful blue skies.
The worst case scenario is that, you know, the drought continues on for a couple of years and the equity that we have in our farm diminishes back to not much or to nothing. Then I guess it's a forced sale. Oh, I'd be devastated. Yeah, I'd be totally devastated. We started with nothing when we came here. To have a drought that's now, I think, classified as a 1 in 200 year drought, sort of makes me think that there's probably something else going on, you know, and I guess the issue of global warming, probably has some merit.
Another issue which has greatly affected Australians over the last few weeks are bushfires. Still in our memory strongly would be the Victorian bushfires, one of the greatest bushfires ever experienced in recent times. This presentation by Joshua Inshong will give you an insight into bushfires on a local, state and federal perspective.
Bushfires. They are a natural occurrence in our land. We should always expect them to happen, but we don't. Everyone always seems surprised that they happen, even if they happen very often. Everyone seems to be shocked that some specific bushfires started, and they didn't expect them. Why? The conditions in areas of our country make it very fire-prone, so why are we never completely ready? One great example of this is a response. One great example of this, a response was after the 1983 bushfires. Sure, nobody saw it coming because of the dust storm that reduced eyesight, but it should have been expected. Why weren't people ready enough to make an effective response that would probably have made its effects less destructive than it was? One very important thing to do in bushfire-prone conditions is to evacuate endangered towns. What was it done? Yes, at the last minute. How many people died? 75. If the fire authorities of Melbourne had not left evacuation to the last minute, so many people would not have died. Also, after these bushfires, a new communication system that would make communication much more effective was offered to be made. How long did this take to be installed? 20 years. It took the government 20 years to make a much better communication system that would have made bushfires easier to respond to. I, along with many others, demand that the government and fire authorities must be more effective during fire season, so losses aren't as great as they are. Observe the recent Victorian bushfires. Over 200 people died. If people were more prepared for this, it wouldn't have been so destructive. Do we have to put costs of better firefighting technology over people's lives? I don't think so. Should we wait for someone to make firefighting more effective? No. We have to take action before another major bushfire begins, so we may be ready for the impact, so we can fight the fires.
It was a battle royal that went on in this street to save houses, and the man who is at the centre of it is Roland Gardner, who's the 2IC of the Whittlesea CFA. He also happens to live right there. Roland, thank you for being with us. Your house is okay, the houses on the hill are okay, and you had a hand in that.
Well, not really. I mean, we just had a little bit of heads-up knowledge that it was coming, so we were able to get the neighbours on the hill to either leave or prepare, and they decided to prepare, and they all fought it through, and I thought they were all dead, but they're all alive.
You were down saving your house, and you looked up the hill, and I gather saw one of your neighbours' houses engulfed in flames, you thought?
Oh, I thought they were all gone, because I'd sent one fire truck, I only had one, and I sent it to the house just on the ridge up there, because it's a timber home that's on stilts, and I thought they wouldn't survive. One of our firefighters got burnt, but they saved the people's lives. So.
Was that the secret to saving your house on Saturday? You said that, you told me earlier that you had about an hour's warning.
Yeah, well, we were lucky. This is the fringe of the fire. Had we been in there, we wouldn't have survived it. So we got the tail end of the fire out here, and because everyone in here, we've had a bit of knowledge of preparing for a fire, we were able to decide and make a decision of how to make a stand for it. We were lucky. We were lucky.
You were lucky and you fought. We were talking to David Packham, who's a former CSIRO bushfire scientist, about the tree policy, the pro-tree policy of some councils. You're at the pointy end of this in a fire. You're out there fighting. You've been doing 18-hour days. What do you think about it?
Well, if you see my home, there's no trees. Right, there's cleared paddocks. I had 4 acres between there and the house, and I still almost got burnt out. We've got people living in the forests or living in treed areas, and they're not allowed to cut their trees down. I mean, even when I was up in Sydney with the Sydney fires, I had houses, and the people were saying to me, we can't cut these trees down behind these houses, and there's a fire coming, and we've been told no because this tree might have a bug living in it. I mean, I'm being silly, but they've got to let people clear. If they've given people a permit to live in a house, they've got to allow them to clear it, because there are going to be more people who are going to die in this country.
Overall, natural disasters can really bring Australians closer together as a community by pitching in to help those in need. This was another edition of ADF News. Tune in next week to see the feature article on future cars.